So we are here in Atlanta, Georgia, at the Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport, and 685 nautical miles to my southwest, there is a massive Category 5 hurricane named Milton. Yes, that is the hurricane's name. Its name is not Mountain Town, its name is Milton. It's going to be Category 4 by the time it reaches landfall in Florida. It's looking like it's going to hit the Tampa area. Please be safe down there, y'all. But in addition to the fact that there's this massive, incredibly powerful storm, one of the strongest on record in the Gulf of Mexico, things haven't exactly gone according to schedule, have they, for the last couple of months here on the channel. And I thought I would kill two birds with one stone by taking a moment to talk about that today. Hello, Legion. This is Hadrian. Thank you for being here. Let's take a look ahead into what's coming soon for the channel. But first, let's get underway here before I dive into what we have on the docket. So we're going to get moving relatively quickly in this experimental aircraft. And you might enjoy the procedure that I'm going to have to follow.
Atlanta Tower Experimental 02, continue for west
for getting this thing up to speed. Because, let me tell you something, this thing can move.
Atlanta Tower Experimental 02, frequency change.
But it takes a moment to get up to it. So we first have to orient ourselves towards the hurricane, which we're going to do. First, let me go ahead and pitch up a little bit more. While banking here. Hurricane's in that direction. We're currently just under Mach 1. Once we are kind of in a straight line here, it'll be a little bit easier to multitask. Well, once we're in a straight line and certain maneuvers have been executed to perfection. Alright, so we're actually looking pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and take this as my point of execution. Let's do this. Nobody panic. This is completely normal. All airplanes do this. This is just how airplanes take off. I promise we're going to get to a look ahead in just a moment. This is possibly the most complicated takeoff procedure in Flight Simulator. Notice we're now above Mach 1. That maneuver that I just did is necessary in order to get this thing above Mach 1. And now I have to... oh, let me not pull too many G's. I have to very carefully manage the rate at which I speed up here. Once we're above Mach 3, we will accelerate a lot faster. But for now, we're going to cruise as we gain altitude. We're at about 20,000 feet, and I'm going to just put a slight bank as we begin our discussion. So, for those of you who didn't see the community post yesterday, we're going to have this look ahead today, then we're going to have Against All Odds back tomorrow, and then Against All Odds on Friday. So, talking about the schedule and about the channel in general, obviously things have been spotty. I'm not happy about it. Everyone has been incredibly patient. There haven't been a bunch of people saying, oh my god, dude, what are you doing with your schedule? I haven't had channel members saying, oh my god, Hadrian, like, we're supporting you. Like, why aren't you making more videos? What's the deal? And you're well within your purview to say that, and yet no one has really come at me with those kinds of sentiments. And I want to start this look ahead by acknowledging your patience and your kindness and just generally how good you have all been to me while I've been in this really topsy-turvy transitional period with my new job, which I've talked about a good bit. So let me just begin by saying thank you. This was always, this year, this entire year, 2024, I don't know if I've ever really said this out loud on the channel, but this was always going to be a tight year, this year specifically, because I knew that this transition was happening, but there were other, you know, sort of factors as well, which I don't really need to get into. I just knew that I was going to be juggling a lot. I had a very busy schedule. I had a lot of things planned for work and a lot of things planned for YouTube. Hold that thought. Scramjets are enabled. Also, I just remembered there might be one thing we need to make sure that we turn on. Good. Turbulence is low. Turbulence is normally fine, but in this particular aircraft, notice we're now above Mach 4. You can see in the bottom left. Turbulence is fine, but given that we are going to literally visit a hurricane, I figured let's maybe... Oh, hang on. Real time. There we go. Don't know why real time was off. Given that we're going to literally be visiting a hurricane, there's no reason to have turbulence turned on, because I would rather be able to fly smoothly, especially since I'm doing two things at once and talking about channel-related issues while I'm flying. But we can enjoy the view while I travel. And there's the moon in the background. Awesome shot there. And as you can see, we're closing the distance quite agreeably as we approach Mach 9. So with all those things that I had planned, I knew that I would have to work hard this year. And sometimes those periods of hard work and periods of adjustment have required me to take a step back from YouTube for a few weeks at a time. I think the longest was about a month break. And I don't always talk about it. Matter of fact, while things have been so busy this week, or this year, I haven't liked talking about it because I want to make videos, not talk about making videos. And I don't, quite honestly, I don't want to establish expectations for my viewers while I'm still in the process of finding the right balance for myself and deciding, well, what are those expectations? You know? Hang on, we need to make sure that we are going full speed here. There we go. And so when I answer a comment about plans or updates, or when I think about answering a comment about plans or updates, or like taking a break or whatever, I prefer to answer definitively or not at all. And that's my thing. It's totally my thing. No one but me made that rule, and I'm kind of stubborn. My stubbornness is really the main topic of today's look ahead. So I went into this year pretty stubborn as well. Not only confident, but stubborn. And nowhere in all of my decisions regarding the channel have I been more stubborn than in my insistence on maintaining daily episodes in every series. So if I'm running multiple series at a time, the idea is each series would literally have a new episode every day. And there's a way that I go about doing that recording that generally works for me. And worked last year to great effect. And then as I started with my work and trying to balance multiple priorities, which the two priorities are very compatible, and I intend to continue doing YouTube alongside this new job as things continue to get better and better and things continue to balance out. But it's been, as I said, one massive learning process for me. And something that I really have to acknowledge is that I've had a certain resistance to doing anything other than daily content in each series. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason. So those of you who've been around on the channel for a long time, you know that the terminology half schedule is something that I used to use all the time. It's when I would say that rather than doing daily content, we were going to do every other day. And before 2020, like really from 2016 to 2020, maybe 2017, 2020 in particular, those years, like half schedule was synonymous for like when I needed to sort of scale things back and reduce. We're starting to see the outer edge of the storm, by the way, so we're already getting close. It's a massive storm, and the clouds that are getting pulled in from all directions. It's unfortunate that the clouds don't go a little bit farther in Flight Simulator. Maybe Flight Simulator 2024 will be a little bit better with cloud rendering, but when you're this high in the Dark Star, and yes, by the way, that is the plane literally heating up as we travel at Mach 10 at 275,000 feet. We're going to be over the eye in literal seconds. But that phrase, half schedule, it meant, again, doing episodes every other day instead of daily. And it was generally synonymous with, like, I'm juggling a lot. I have a lot going on. Maybe I'm traveling a lot. Maybe I was, going to see my parents or traveling elsewhere. And there was just a sense of like, okay, in order to kind of keep content flowing, I need to reduce the output. Now, when I brought the channel back last year, it was the only thing I was doing for 6 months. And I really enjoyed the feeling of not having to rely on the half schedule concept. It's not that everything was perfect, but I was able to maintain daily content for the most part. And I really enjoyed that. And I think I got a little bit attached to it. I liked the idea of maintaining daily content because we were in a new era of the channel. Oh, look at this. The weather data is loading in real time. That doesn't normally happen, but I think so much is being updated about this storm that it's not entirely loaded in as we fly over it. We're also flying really fast, so it makes sense that stuff is not going to load in quite as quickly. The eye is probably not going to be very well defined yet. It is in real life, but in the simulator it's not particularly well defined. But we're going to still try and spot for it from up here and then fly down into it in the next couple of moments. So that half schedule idea, it was really synonymous with moments of struggle for me. And so I've resisted for a long time the concept of going to half schedule. I've really insisted stubbornly on, hold on a minute, let's actually keep things daily as much as possible. And in some ways, doing that has, like, in insisting on continuing to do that, is what has made it hard for me to keep up with the schedule. And while I was traveling a few weeks ago, this is actually when I was traveling to see my friend at the beginning of September, and then I thought about it more when I went to see my godson, which I, again, mentioned in the announcement yesterday. One of the things that I began to realize is that that could be the change that I have refused to sort of make, because those of you who have followed my announcements and have heard me talk about the various different things that I've done on the channel to kind of manage my schedule over the last year and a half or so, you know very well that, right, so there's the eye, really not much of one in the simulator at present, but you can tell that it's like definitively lower than the rest of the clouds around it. We are going to fly through the storm a little bit too, but I wanted to start out high altitude. But those of you who've been around for a while, you kind of know that I've already like tweaked a lot of things. Like I do a daily or a weekly blink in every series now, so there's always a day where we don't have content. That was in part to help me stay ahead of the daily schedule. But really, when it comes right down to it, I think what needs to happen on the channel and what is going to happen on the channel going forward, we're still going to have daily content in terms of like what the channel has always aspired to be, but in terms of daily episodes in every new series, literally no one has ever asked me for that. That's just always something that I've stubbornly insisted upon doing. And maybe, just maybe, if I ease up on that, it'll be easier for everyone to keep up with my series, and it'll be easier for me to keep up with recording a certain series so that I can then add other series into the docket and actually stream once or twice a week, like I've been saying I've wanted to for well over a year. Like I said, I've had a lot going on, but we're going really fast. So I'm going to throttle back here because we are passing the eye. We're also rapidly descending. Look at this track right here. This is wild. So when I talk about changes to the schedule, especially the ones that I teased yesterday in the community post, that's what I'm talking about. We're going to bring the channel back online, and we're going to keep doing things as I've been doing them. We're going to run multiple series, 3 or 4 at a time, ideally. We haven't been doing that all year because of what I've been talking about. But what we're going to start doing once I've guaranteed that I'm not going to crash here, what we're going to start doing is episodes every other day. And no skip day per week, because obviously there are multiple skip days per week. So it's just going to be episodes every other day. And that'll mean 3 or 4 new episodes in a series each week, with multiple series running. And then streams So it's going to be the same plan. It's just I'm reconfiguring the way that I record and reconfiguring the way that I schedule and the way that I advertise the content so that I can actually keep up with my aspirational schedule. And that's it. There's really not a lot to it. I just wanted to kind of make a formal announcement and discussion and have a little bit of a discussion about it. Feel free to ask me questions in the comments if you want to learn a little bit more, if I can clarify anything that I've said. This is stuff that I've been fairly open about in some ways in the past in terms of the various things that I've tweaked on the schedule. But at the end of the day, whatever I'm doing with the channel has to actually be sustainable on a weekly basis so that there are new videos going up regularly, because that's the whole idea of having a YouTube channel. At the end of the day, when I'm not making new content, that's not satisfying for me. It's not satisfying for viewers. It's not satisfying for subscribers, and it's especially not satisfying for members. So I need to shift my recording goals much more clearly and consistently in the direction of what actually feels achievable. And the ironic thing is that the result is likely that we'll have more videos on the channel over the next 6 months than we did over the last 6. When it comes right down to it, I think the stubbornness that I have felt around not wanting to go back to half schedule because of what it used to represent to me years ago is something that I would be better off, and the channel would be better off just sort of being without. And I'm being very transparent here, arguably more transparent than I need to be, although there are certainly still things that I'm keeping close to the vest, because I should keep them close to the vest. This is sort of the struggle of running a YouTube channel when real life obligations and professional concerns kind of collide with what you started out doing when you brought a channel back from a 2.5-year hiatus. So I'm hoping that it's beneficial as well for some people listening, educational even, or even, if you want to think of it as a cautionary tale. These are some of the challenges that can emerge. I certainly learned a lot of lessons like that from some of the videos that the channels that inspired me put out talking about their struggles. So I think it's good to be transparent to an extent about this kind of thing, and hopefully having talked about it a little bit is clarifying and makes people feel a little bit better to the extent that they needed to feel better about what's going on with the channel. But yeah, that's the long and short of it. And I think before we end here, just to give the people what they want, rather than flying between the clouds, why don't we fly through them? So that's me hitting the afterburners, and we're going to fly through that cloud wall as we wrap up this look ahead here. But there wasn't a lot to discuss apart from that. As I mentioned, we're going to have Long Dark content coming back this week, and then we will have additional series in either new or returning games following that. As soon as I'm ahead of schedule on the Long Dark, we'll get ahead of schedule on one series, launch a second one, and then now that I've sort of cut the recording demands in half, the goal is to bring the channel back online in a more reliable manner so that you have new content to enjoy every week more consistently. Does that mean that I will never need to take a break? No, it does not, because I'm still juggling a lot, but this will make it considerably easier for me to manage the things that I need to manage. So that's what I'm going to do. Be very mindful of my vertical speed, though. Vertical speed is displayed in the bottom right in feet per minute. There doesn't appear to be a lot of... Oh, that might have been... No, that wasn't lightning. That was the distance line for the marker that I placed. So that's the eye right there, or at least that's where the eye was when I sort of made this flight path. And this is rain all around us, by the way. You can see the rainbow underneath. Such a powerful storm. And what's wild is just how high these clouds reach. For those of you who don't know what aircraft this is, by the way, this is the Dark Star, which is a fictional aircraft that was in the movie Top Gun Maverick, and this is actually officially available in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, if you didn't know that, which is pretty neat. We're going to pitch down slightly so as to be able to gain a little bit more speed. Notice we're at 25,000 feet, and this is what the clouds look like. Again, if you are in the path of this thing, clearly this is just a simulation, but this is a very, very real storm that will be making landfall very soon. Please stay safe. And thank you very much for listening and for watching. I appreciate your patience again. I will end on the same note with which I began. The Legion has been so incredibly kind to me during this period of like figuring so many things out. It's all been incredibly positive, but it's been really stressful because I've had to stay nimble and I've had to, as I said, take a step back when I've needed to. And you have been there the entire time. And every time I've expressed a kind of trepidation about like, oh, you know, I want to make sure that I'm, you know, getting more content out, that I'm doing what I need to do in order to maintain the channel and really get it to where I want it to be. There's been an overwhelming sort of chorus of support and positivity. Not just on average, but almost in totality. The comments that I received have been entirely positive. There are a few exceptions, but they're outliers. And I cannot thank you enough for that patience and that kindness and just the willingness to wait while I figure some of this stuff out. So thank you a million times. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this look ahead up here now that we're out of the hurricane's eye. There's the moon in the background again. I appreciate you so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow when Against All Odds returns.